and we even have folks coming in from different parts of the country from our zone. And so this is actually a wide geographic stretch that we're working on for the Rotary Leadership Institute. Jay Dean and I are in the middle of a second offering of part one. We will soon be kicking off another part one, two part twos, and a part three, all coming up over the next few weeks up through July.
And do you have a date? Do you have a date for the new part one? I had a couple people asking me when the next part one would be.
Yes, and so I'm glad you asked. We certainly do have that coming up. I'm stalling if you couldn't tell. Jay Dean, you want to talk for a minute while I work on this back here?
Absolutely. And while Justin's getting those specific dates, I mean, really, they have gone crazy since our Rotary Leadership Institute online went so well, and it filled up within like 6 hours. They've gone nuts, and so now part one, part two, and part three are now online. And if you're getting your bulletins each Tuesday morning, there's a link that'll take you straight to all the different offerings. And so you can see what you would like to do and register as well. And that's what Justin has up on our screen right now.
And so there is a single part one online offering from May through June. There are two part two online offerings, one in June and one in July. And there is a part three offering in July. And now remember, you have to take the classes in order, but now that we're doing everything online, you can register for them ahead of time. And so that's a neat way to do that too. But LoneStarRLI.com is where those are, and I will put that in the chat.
Wonderful, thank you, Justin.
And we'll also send out an email with all those things.
And if you are currently on the board, or you will be on the upcoming board, you should have seen Justin's email saying that, you know, we're really pushing to have full participation for our board members coming in for the new Rotary year, all having at least RLI 1 under their belt. And preferably you go further, but at least having that leadership course under your belt, and you can use that to help you, you know, lead Rotary throughout the whole year. Okay, do you have any other district events?
There are, but nothing official yet. We might have some things at the towards the end of the month, and then we'll have maybe assembly coming up and things like that with Eddie Bartnetsky, our incoming district governor. But we will let you know of those hard dates once we get there.
Okay, great. We have some club events that are coming up that y'all should have seen in an email. It's also on our website. Kingsville Rotary is going to be celebrating a 97th birthday on May 26th. So that's right around the corner. I believe it's next week. Yeah, next Tuesday. So we're going to be dark during our noontime meeting, and we're going to have an evening event, which will involve a trivia night. It'll invite all of our community members to participate. You can have your family in on it. We're going to have some teams. We're going to break out and have some fun. So everybody bring your favorite cocktail or favorite snacks, and we'll have a good time. And those invitations will go out again the end of this week to remind you, and we will be doing that on Zoom. So I hope everybody will join us and bring along some friends. Other events that we have coming up is our installation dinner. Claudia has been working on getting that arranged and set up. It's originally scheduled for June 23rd, and we're going to be keeping to that date. We're trying to make the proper arrangements so that we can all meet in person, but do so safely. And we're going to be doing that with the university. We have an outdoor venue that's being discussed. We're going to try and keep it under an hour, so we won't do a full sit-down dinner. We'll likely do cocktails and heavy hors d'oeuvres, and then we'll have an outdoor space so we can all kind of, not be in each other's bubble. That's the plan so far. We're going to take it day by day, and we'll update y'all once we have some solidified plans in place. But we're hoping by then we might be able to have something, see everybody, be social, and the most importantly, welcome Justin as our incoming president. So it's a very, very exciting time, and I know he's going to be doing a great job, and he's going to have a great group of people pushing from behind and pulling from the front. So he should be very busy.
Easy now, don't build it up too much.
Let's see, what else do we have here? Does anybody have any happy dollar announcements? I'll open that up now if anybody has any. I'll look to Janine and JD, and they seem to have lots of good announcements. Brooke, you got one? Let me unmute you, Susan.
It's more of just like a quick little update. I know that y'all have been waiting on the Interact program. And so the person that was my contact person at Santa Gertruda School is leaving. Dr. Sandoval is leaving. And so I'm waiting on communication with Veronica Alfaro to see who might be in his place. And one of the things that we were going to discuss was the possibility of kicking it off during the summer when maybe activities might be restricted, but I'm waiting to talk to her to see if she wants to wait till school starts in the fall. So I'll just update you guys when I have more information.
Thank you, Susan, for all the work you've been doing on Interact. We're excited to get this up off the ground.
Yeah.
It'll happen when it's time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Any other happy dollar announcements or just updates, news announcements? Go ahead, Justin.
Well, we do have a guest here with us, Dr. Cynthia Alfaro Stinson. We can't see you, but we know that you're there.
Hello, I'm back.
Well,
Glad
thanks
to
so much
have
for
you.
being here. We really appreciate that.
Of course, it was fun last time, so I had to come back.
Well, you're welcome back anytime. All of our meetings until I know Sunrise hasn't gotten back to their regular routine yet, but even when you do, you're always welcome to stop in.
Thank you so much.
Brooke, you've got something?
Yeah, I just wanted for planning purposes to let you know, it looks like we have finally solidified a change of command date for July 2nd at 2 p.m. So that is the Admiral approved date and time unless it changes.
And you will still be here and around at that time?
We will. We don't plan on leaving until the 9th or 10th, which will give us 2 weeks to hunker down in Hawaii prior to that change of command and let Eric turn over there.
And update us, has your daughter found an adoptive family at this point, or is she still moving with you?
It turns out that nobody will take her. She's just too sassy. So she'll have to come with us.
Thank you for that. Anybody else have any happy dollar announcements?
Ruth? Oh, Ed, my whole.
Go ahead.
I cut out, I think. Can you hear? Oh, sorry. Each morning, we try to limit it to one a week. We send out a bulletin with the meeting information for this and a bunch of other stuff. But I've learned that some folks are not receiving that. And so if you do hear of anybody that's not receiving it and would like to, just give me a holler and we'll work on it. I think Cynthia, we had to work on her getting some emails and stuff yesterday, and I think we got that taken care of.
Getting what? You
If
send
you're
a,
getting our email notices,
okay.
so we try to watch our
Thanks for-
stats on our emails to see if we have any bounce back. We haven't had any of that, but sometimes stuff can filter through either via your spam folder, or if you're getting emails through your employer, sometimes their servers will identify us and block us even from getting into your spam folder. So if you are hearing of somebody who's having troubles, let us know so that we can either forward them the emails from our personal email, or reset up another email within Club Runner so that they're getting the notices from us. Okay. Any other announcements? No? Okay. Jadine, or Janine, you arranged for our guest speaker today, so I will unmute you and let you introduce us, please, to one of our own.
It is one of our own. So originally our city manager, Mark McLaughlin, was going to speak, gosh, I think a month ago now, and just give us an update on city happenings and everything since he's taken over. So I will just pass it on to Mark, who is now able to speak to us on Zoom. Better late than never.
Thanks, Janine. Does everybody hear me okay? At least one person say, yes, you hear me. Okay, I got thumbs up. All right, excellent. Well, welcome everybody. I know most of you know me, but just in case, my name's Mark McLaughlin, and I am the city manager here for Kingsville, have been now. You're not gonna believe this, but 6 months coming up in about a week. It goes by fast. So surprised they haven't fired me yet. So been a Rotarian for 4 years now, coming up in June. And so Rotary is, I didn't know a thing about it. I think I may have mentioned this when I was being inducted, but I didn't know a thing about Rotary. I just thought it was another club. And then I got involved in it in my little town of Flatonia. And then I learned about the service commitment that Rotary really does, especially in the polio campaign and just the foundation, the Rotary Foundation. What great work they do. And I was kind of missing something in my life, and it was Rotary was kind of filled that niche of what else could I do after my post-military days. And so very excited to be back in Rotary again here with the Kingsville Club. So thank you for taking me in. So what's going on in the city? Well, I'm talking to you from my office, which is a great office, by the way. They set me up well here. The city, we're having to deal with COVID-19 just like everybody else. And regardless of what you see on social media and people beating us up thinking we're not doing enough, I can tell you the city is doing everything we can within our legal powers. And you know, it's kind of nice to see this Zoom meeting because we've been teleworking since March 18th, and now I can finally track where half of my city staff is because they're all in Rotary, and I can see them on the video here. And so it's good to see everybody doing some great stuff out there for the city. So, you know, I'm very blessed. When I came in here 6 months ago to be indoctrinated with my staff. There's 18 department heads and about 285 full-time employees for the city that do everything from water, wastewater, sewer, to paving streets, to running admin, doing the billing. And unfortunately, we have to do some of the bad stuff like going out and towing vehicles that are junked and that kind of stuff. So since I've been here, I've had to replace or hire 2 department heads. One of them is a Rotary member, Uche, who's online right now. He's our planning director. And then today I made a selection for our brand new fire chief. I've talked to him. We're waiting till he confirms it, but he comes with a plethora of experience, and I think the city will be very pleased with our selection. So that happened about an hour ago. So I've actually been doing Zoom or Skype meetings all morning today. So. All right, COVID-19, let me talk a little bit about that. That has really put a hiccup in our engine here in the city, but I'm very thankful for the hard work put in by the staff to be able to provide the city services and still comply with governor's executive orders, the social distancing. How do we protect our city employees? Many of these positions are only one deep. So if you lose somebody, there's nobody behind them to fill in. And there's a lot of functions in this city that we cannot do if somebody is out with COVID-19. So knock on wood, we haven't had a single person with COVID-19 as a city employee yet. And I think there's a lot to say about how our city staff is addressing COVID-19 and taking care of the employees under their charge. But with that, the governor has announced as of yesterday, I think it's governor's executive order 19. I could be off. He puts one out about every week now. But he's going to really open up the city effective this Friday. And if you didn't know, restaurants are going to be able to go up from a 25% capacity limit up to 50%. They're going to allow the gyms to open. A lot of other parts of our industry are going to be able to open, including daycares, and bars are going to be able to open at a 25% capacity. And we have a pretty little sheet that the governor's office put out. We're going to post it on our website so people can keep track of that. But I'm still concerned about the amount of cases in the state of Texas. You know, there's 700,000 cases confirmed in the state of Texas since this all began. The state of Texas, we've been pretty flat for about the last 10 days, averaging somewhere around 1,100 new cases every single day. The deaths, still quite a high number of deaths in Texas. And Janine has been marvelous in handling this for the county. She's basically turned into the public information officer for the county and the city, handling all of the requirements and the requests and passing information. And one thing she'll tell you is that we've had about 600 tests done in the city of Kingsville. We don't get those results. The city doesn't get them. So people call us all the time and say, where's my result? Well, we don't know. HIPAA doesn't let us know. We only know what the judge is told by the Department of State Health Services Region 11 down in the valley. So we're very restricted on what kind of information is shared with us. But when we do get information from a reputable source, such as the judge, we share that with you. And that's the best we can do. So all the cussing and bitching people do to us, I can't help that. They're just going to have to get over it. And but we do a very good job of passing on this information when we get it. I will say that what does alarm me is that a town of about 25,000, 30,000 in the county, if we were going to run the numbers, we should be closer to about 70 confirmed cases, and we're only around 14. So what does that mean? Either number one, we're getting really lucky, or number two, we haven't done enough testing, or three, it's a combination of both, and I think it's number three. So regardless whether you have one, you have 70, you have 200 cases, whatever the number really is out there, the important thing is we can get through this as a community and still not catch COVID-19 if people practice their social distancing, wearing a mask. It's not required, but it's highly recommended by the CDC. And of course, you know, it's a virus. It can transmit through a lot of different media. The important thing is that no one thing is going to be the cure-all for this COVID-19, but it's a full package of social distancing, washing, keeping out of the public view if you can, wear your mask, don't touch anybody if you can avoid it. That is how you prevent getting COVID-19. You reduce and mitigate your chances of getting it. And that's the message we've been putting out as the city for the longest time. And our city employees have to deal with this every single day, including all of our customer service, all of my sanitation workers, all the guys that work at the water plant, the wastewater plants. So it's a challenging effort. Now with the opening of the parks again, Susan, who's online here today, has a big challenge ahead of her, because the governor in his announcement said that we can start having league play. So our Pony League, we're going to figure out a way to safely open Pony League. And we got to make sure that all the coaches are going to come back, how many kids are coming back, and we're going to do a more condensed season this summer so the kids have something to do this summer. But we're looking into that, and if it all works out, we should have practices cannot begin before May 31st. With that, summer camps can open up, so Susan's working on a plan to how we can safely perform summer camps for our using our city parks. All right, one of the big things I'm working on now is the budget. So a lot of people don't know this, but if I threw a number out there and said, you know, what is it? If I ask you, what's the city budget? How much money does the city bring in and how much do we spend every year? I'd probably get a whole bunch of answers, but I'll just shorten it and tell you our budget's about 42 million. Nowhere near the $1.1 billion budget the city of Corpus has, but the city of Kingsville is about a $42 million budget. Now, when I got here in December, I challenged the department heads to find me 10% savings right off the bat. I said, you got 8 months, 9 months, and let's figure out a way to save 10%. And I'm glad I did that. The department heads, a lot of them on my first day, are like, who is this knucklehead? And they're rolling their eyes at me, but they really embraced it. And as of about 4 days ago, they had saved already, and without compromising any of our services, they had saved us about 17% in the budget. Sorry, phone's ringing. But then COVID came along, and we started doing an analysis way back in early March. When I first heard about the first case, I'm thinking this could be bad. So I challenged the department heads to go out and get 6 months worth of supplies in case supply chain management is wrecked across the country. And I'm glad we did that because the city is postured very well for supplies for many months to come to keep running the, you know, the chlorinators at the water treatment plants and stuff like that. So we have plenty of supplies, even if there is more disruption of supply chain management. And so we're very fortunate that we took that action, but we also migrated some of the city budget. We actually went through with each of the department heads line by line down their budgets and said, if you don't need to spend it, we're not going to let you spend it. So let's move it to year-end funding, a savings account at the year-end. And we were able to migrate a little over $1 million. So as we see a real hit in our sales tax revenue and our hot tax revenues, the city has done a marvelous job, and it's really not me, it's the department heads did this. Have done a marvelous job on taking money and saving it throughout the year, and then also working with our finance director, Deborah Bailly, and moving money to the end of the year. So we think we can absorb a pretty significant hit in sales tax for about 3 months before we see a real impact to our budget that we haven't already accounted for now. So pleased to report that. Let's see, what else? Okay, one of the other things we're doing, cleaning up the city. And this is where Uche comes in. Uche is our planning director. And under his guidance, he has the building official, and he also has our 3 code enforcement officers. And so one of the things that the mayor and the commission has challenged me with was to let's get this city cleaned up. And there's a lot of things we can do. And this is where I need the participations of the citizens. And a lot of it is just, you know, what can we do to clean the yards up? You know, mow your yard, take care of the trashy looking lots. And so we write code enforcement letters, a tune of about 25 every single day. And that's a lot of work because you have to document everything. You have to take the pictures. You have to do all the required letter writing. And because if it comes to a point where we have to abate the problem, we file liens against these, you know, for the cost we invest. And so we do that regularly. And with that, Uche has stepped it up a notch, and we're really going after dilapidated buildings. We've got too many in this town that just look like garbage. And so we're asking the owners either fix it up or tear it down. And if we have to tear it down, we're going to place a lien on it. And after a certain period of time, we can file the foreclosures and sell the property. So we're going to get this town cleaned up one way or the other. And that's one of the biggest problems is the dilapidated structures. As I'm asking the citizens to clean up their private property, I've had to turn to my own public works department and say, let's get this town cleaned up that we own. And that includes uncovering our sidewalks. We've had so much growth on our sidewalks that you've probably seen all my little guys running around town with their skid steers scraping off the sidewalks all down the main streets. So we're doing that. We're cleaning up what the city's responsible for. We have a regular rotation of our street cleaning crew and our pothole crew. There's 4 major zones in the town. They spend about a week to 2 weeks in every single zone, which includes brush pickup. So they just migrate around the town. They're constantly working the town on pothole repair, sweeping the streets, sweeping the gutters, sweeping the sidewalks. And by the time you get back around to the start 8 weeks later, you just have to keep doing it. And then it gets worse every time there's a big rain, because that really opens up the pothole problem, and we have to deal with that quite a bit. So as my public works is working on cleaning up the city stuff, one of the last things we're trying to do is get after the street problem. And that was the #1 identified item when the city hired me 6 months ago. The commissioner said that the #1 goal they want to see was, let's get these streets repaired. We hired a firm to update our 2015 study that had all the streets listed. There's about 110 miles worth of streets in the city of Kingsville. A lot of people don't realize there's that much, but there is 110 miles. And with that, this survey crew comes in and they use some electronic gadgetry that looks really close and it does a thump test in the ground. They can determine how deep the base is under the road, and they grade every road and they give it a grade. There's like about 6 different levels. And think of it as like 1 to 6, 1 being good, 6 being really bad, but they have some words and it goes with it. And so we've received the initial indications, and the street, each sheet of paper is about 3 feet wide and about 5 feet long. We have 5 of these things with every street on it. So we know the condition of every street, and now we're starting to put together the plan with this company we hired on what mixture of streets that are in moderate shape, meaning they're not really bad, but if you let them go, they're going to get really bad, and then that's costlier. So you have to kind of repair some that are in the mid-range while you also attack the ones that are in horrible condition. And the other thing I've asked the street department to do is, I said, instead of going around town and fixing like one little city block at a time, the citizens don't see that. They think that's just a big patch. So I said, let's start doing streets and get after a street. Do a street that's 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 city blocks long. That's when you start seeing that we're working on streets. So the one they're doing right now, 13th Street, from Lot all the way down to Caesar, almost a half a mile long. So they're going to be paving that beginning of next week, although we just had a 8-inch water main break last night that flooded the north half of that, so we may have to wait another week. But so the streets, we're going to get to them, and we're going to continue to do our pothole repair while we migrate around to get to these streets. And when we do a street, we're also looking at the infrastructure underneath of them. We have a lot of water lines in this town that are asbestos concrete, very safe product, but it gets very brittle over time. And that's the pipe, an 8-inch water main that broke last night, pumped probably 1 million gallons into Kennedy Street. So that asbestos concrete needs to get replaced. So when we work a street, we're going to start looking at ways to replace the water line so we don't have to dig up the street again later on when it breaks. So that's kind of it. Let me run down, make sure I didn't miss anything. Talked about parks, cleaning up the city, code enforcement, our budget. As we prepare for this next year's budget, we're already in that process right now. We're going to have a workshop next Tuesday night at the commission meeting. And so some of the big things we're going to be looking at is, of course, what streets we're going to do for next fiscal year. We're also going to look at some parks improvements. We've got a capital improvement plan that will incorporate the parks facilities. The judge and the city, Judge Rudy Madrid and the city, we're working in coordination on the JK Northway Exposition Center out there, the Expo Center. And we're gonna, we're working on grants right now. We've been awarded one. There's other things coming that are gonna turn that Expo Center into a nice venue that people will want to come use, whether it's concerts or dances, quinceañeras, you name it, to the NCAA rodeo. We're trying to lure them back, and we're also going to turn that into an emergency operations center that can be used by the city, the county, the Navy when they have to evacuate the base at certain levels of hurricanes. So there's a lot going into the JK Northway, and you'll probably hear a lot more about it from the judge in the next coming months. And then one of the big things we're also doing in this next fiscal year is going after a grant. for correcting or balancing the city's sewer system. Now, as a citizen of the city of Kingsville, when people turn on their water, they expect to have good, clean water, and we do a good job of providing that. Our water system is really good. When you flush your commode, you expect it to go somewhere, and you don't really care as long as it goes somewhere, right? Well, it needs to go somewhere, and it needs to go to the wastewater treatment plants. Well, the city has two. We have a north plant, 3 million gallons a day, and we have a south plant, 1 million gallons a day. So there's 4 million gallons per day of treated sewer capacity in this city, and we only use about 50% of it. The problem is that most of it's on the south plant, and the south plant only can take 1 million gallons a day anyway. So we have to balance the system. And one of the things we're going to work with is with the Navy, and we're going to connect the south plant and the north plant together. It does two things. It provides redundancy for the city, because right now the city is divided at about King Avenue. Everything north of King pretty much goes to the north plant. Everything south of King goes to the south plant. If the south plant were to fail, that sewer is still going to go to the south plant. It has nothing, you know, if it's failed, we got a big problem. We can't divert it somewhere else. So this pipeline between the two will allow us to divert in the event of an emergency, or to balance the flow. We can not have a single point of failure for the city. The two plants, the south and north wastewater treatment plants, actually align almost perfectly on a north-south axis right along the western border of NAS Kingsville. So the line, we're asking to run it right across Navy property from south to north, right on the western border of the property inside. So there's less property owners to deal with. You just have one, the federal government. With that, we're trying to work with the Navy to see if there's ways to entice or improve our grant application by allowing them to directly tie in to the new line. Because right now the Navy's sewer takes all the sewage and it runs it under all the runways all the way over towards the King Ranch, where the old wastewater plant for the Navy used to be. And then it pumps it all the way back around the north side, all the way to the north treatment plant. The Navy's got a lot of issues with that construct, a lot of single points of failure out there. And this reduces, it makes it a more resilient base by having a new sewer line. So we're working with the Navy on that. That is a huge project for the city, huge project for the Navy, benefits them, and it balances the sewer system for the city. We have decades worth of sewer capacity in our current system. We just need to get it balanced. So when you hear it or see it in the newspaper, that's what we're talking about. So. All right, that's pretty much it in the city front. I'll shut my mouth and answer any questions if you have any.
So we do have some in our chat box here. First one is, aside from COVID, what do you see being the biggest challenge in town?
Oh boy, there's just so many answers to that. I'll tell you the biggest challenge in town is the transition of this from a small town to a larger metropolitan community, and we're there. You know, there's a lot of people that still want the small town charm. I love the small town charm, and but I think we have to realize the fact that this town will grow. Just look at the university and the great things they've done. From when I had the base out here, and that back in 2010, and that university had 4,500 students. Now they're over 9,000. The base, they fixed their jet engine problem. That base isn't going anywhere as long as that airspace above us doesn't get turned over to the FA. So the ability for this town to grow is coming along, and I think how we need to sell it is this is where we need community participation, and we really need to see an improvement in the school district. That would probably be one of the biggest selling points, is if that school district can improve some of their standard testing scores for the state, then we have the full package here.
And a segue in developing the community, there's a question out there. Where do we stand on the downtown improvement plans?
So great question. So we have a Main Street program and we have a downtown improvement program. We are going to enact the TERS, the tax reinvestment. What does the TERS stand for? So used to acronyms in the Navy, and I never know what they stand for. But essentially what it does, it freezes the rates on what gets divided between general fund and what can go into a certain different fund. So we have the historic district downtown where we will enact the TERS, implement the TIF, the tax increment fund, this year. And now we will have a dedicated funding stream from those property owners that are in the historic district with where we can go out and do improvements in that historic district, from infrastructure improvements, water, sewer, storm drainage. And one of the other things I'm trying to figure out from my engineers is how do we improve those 100-year-old concrete streets down there? We're looking at a way to see about getting them laser milled and then capped with hot mix so that they're nice and smooth. We can get them repainted and improve the concrete streets. They're not going anywhere, and there's no way we're going to remove them, but we can actually improve them with some work, but it's kind of expensive to do that. So, but that's one of the big downtown improvements. And the other thing I'll throw in there is that Manny Salazar, our economic development coordinator, he's also runs the Chamber of Commerce. They are going to move from their current location on King over to the Wilson building on Clayburgh Street. So they're going to move to the downtown area. They're going to move in there with the newspaper, and they're also going to move in there with Texas A&M Kingsville. They're going to have an office or two in there. This is going to bring the EDC and the Chamber more to a downtown location. And with Brad Womack's help and a lot of other people that are involved in the EDC, we're going to start this campaign. It's already started on how to really sell this downtown. We have a beautiful downtown with its own segregated Clayburgh Avenue that connects the courthouse to City Hall. And if you see how this has been done in other towns, we have the perfect avenue to follow suit with what they've done. And they've been very successful in supporting their downtown and getting the walking retail shop mixing kind of area going again.
Okay, do I have any other questions? I see that Brad and Uche have followed up telling you what TIRZ stands for, Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone.
Yeah,
and,
thank you guys.
or Tax Incremental Revenue Zone. I'm not sure who's right.
Reinvestment, yeah.
So I'll open it up. If anybody has an additional question, feel free to unmute yourself and throw it out there. Anybody? Okay, then we'll leave it at that.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being our guest speaker or our speaker today. I will let you know, Mark and Uche, I have added y'all to our Rotary system finally. I made it to the office and recovered my Rotary folder to get y'all inputted. If y'all are not receiving notifications, let us know and we'll get it taken care of. Thank you so much. Okay. With that being said, we are going to do our Paul Harris weekly drawing winners. So let me share my screen with you all and we will get our wheel spinning. All right, so Uche is going to be one of our winners for the week. And our next is Steve Bain. So y'all will be added to our quarterly drawing, which will be happening in a few more weeks. A quick reminder, we do not have a noon meeting happening next week because we're having our celebration birthday. So I will be sending that information to everybody as a reminder, and you'll get the bulletin follow-up from Jay Dean on Monday. Do I have any other closing remarks? Did I see a hand go up, Jay Dean, or was that we're all good? Okay. All right, well, with that being said, will y'all please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you all. It was really nice seeing you, especially the baby who's laughing. Let's unmute him real quick because we got to get that baby laugh. Go ahead, let's hear it. That's the best. We will leave the meeting open for anybody that wants to stick around and socialize. If not, we'll see you all on Tuesday evening for our Rotary birthday, 97 years. So we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Have a great week.
Bye, Dawn.